Hello, welcome to this course in Global English, Unit 36, Speaking Module, Unit 2. In this unit, we are going to discuss ways and needs for speaking slowly with pauses so that we are better understood by anywhere from anywhere, anybody speaking standard English from any part of the world, and we also understand them better once we get used to speaking in this manner. So let's go. Many people ask, why should we speak at a slow tempo at all? What is a tempo? Tempo is the speed, tempo is the time taken by the speaker to produce a string of words. I will explain it further within this unit in a later slide, but at the moment let us agree that tempo is the speed at which we speak. Many of us, in many parts of the world, in many communities, we have different cultures, different ways of speaking, different ways of salutation, different ways of greeting, different ways of expressing agreements or disagreements. Language is so inextricably mixed with culture that it is difficult to say where one stops and the other begins. It is so also with the tempo of speech. In many countries, it is considered to be a sign of fluency if you speak rapidly. If you speak slowly, your listeners, your examiners, particularly at job interviews, at business, might think this man, this person is not very proficient, this person does not know English, or this person is trying to hide something, is not very honest, is not transparent. It can create all kinds of misgivings, but it differs from culture to culture, from community to community. But by and large, the community of people that speak and read and write and understand English, that use English worldwide, particularly those that use standard varieties of English, agree that a slow tempo of speech is everybody's best bet, best way to understand and to be understood by others. Even common sense dictates that. Even common sense says that no matter how proficient you are, if you speak rapidly, it is not impossible that you might occasionally be misunderstood. You may have to repeat yourself, you may be asked to repeat yourself, or listeners might conclude something different from what you had said. These things can occur. Therefore, a lot of people agree that if you speak slowly, comfortably, at a reasonably comfortable speed, then it is quite likely that a listener can understand us better and more easily. On the other hand, if we speak rapidly, then even if we speak correctly, grammatically correctly, our pronunciation may be correct, but if we speak rapidly, then chances are that misunderstanding, miscomprehension may occur. Therefore, especially in formal situations, in business-like situations, it is better that we speak at a slow tempo, slowly. Okay? This way, the speaker gets time to think and speak better. If you speak slowly, then you get time to think what my next word can be. Am I going to say people or am I going to say persons? Am I going to say much or am I going to say many? Am I going to say less or am I going to say fewer? These and sometimes even more critical choices, even more unclear choices can, you can get time to make those choices. So, and your listener gets time to understand you. Therefore, many people say that slow speech, particularly in formal situations, in situations where you speak not just to your family or to friends, even with them it is helpful. It is not that speaking slowly in family or with friends is going to cause any harm. No way. But even if we do not do it there, then at least in formal situations, in business situations, in situations where we speak to strangers or only to those that are related to us only in a formal manner as business partners, as clients, as service providers, it is better that we speak slowly so that we are understood better and we understand them better. Another advantage in slow speech is that even if you make mistakes sometimes it is possible, as somebody said, to err is human. Making mistakes is human nature. We need not feel ashamed of that, but then the same mistake should not occur again and again. It is more advisable that any mistake should not occur. Even if it does, the same mistake should not occur again. But the point is, even if you make a mistake, as is inevitable now and then slow speech can help you understand another person. Okay? Even if you pronounce, let us say, a difficult word, let us say an unusual word. Let's take this as example. Convalesce. Many people in India pronounce it as with main stress here. They don't say convalesce, they say convulse. Sorry, they say they say convalesce. They assign a stress here by mistake. This is wrong. In many books, you will find a star marking to indicate that this is incorrect. So, I am using that in many language teaching books, grammar books, particularly modern grammar books. If you find a star at the head of an expression, then you can imagine it is ungrammatical. So, then it becomes ungrammatical. But the point I am making, the claim I am making is the following. If you speak slowly in a context, then in spite of mispronunciation, it is highly likely that you might be misunderstood, the speaker might be misunderstood. Let us say, let's take an example. You say, my friend John had been ill for a long time, but luckily his physician worked hard and now he is convalescing. Soon he will be all right. So, even if you say now he is convalescing rather than saying the correct form. Now he is convalescing, Even if you don't say that, you are partly because of the context, partly because you speak slowly, the listener is very likely to understand you correctly. So, that is the advantage. On the other hand, if you speak rapidly, as I said, whereas even correct speech can be misunderstood when spoken rapidly. Even if you speak rapidly, it is highly likely if you say, well, my friend had been ill for a long time, but now thanks to the doctor he is convalescing, then at such a speed, it's very likely either you would be asked to repeat yourself or you will be misunderstood. Common sense therefore says that slow speech is our best bet to be understood by others. Even if we change nothing else in our pronunciation, I will go to the extent of saying that even if we change nothing else in our pronunciation, our sounds stay the way they are, we put them together as the way we do, even if we stress the words as we do, we have a chance of being understood all right if we speak slowly. There are international tests of English, given to foreign workers, given to students before they are granted admission to English speaking universities, especially in North America and Western Europe. Okay? So, there people have to undergo a proficiency test in English language for admission to those universities. Now, all of these examinations which test your proficiency in English as a foreign language, as an academic language, also have a component in speaking, and there it is suggested that you must speak slowly. Some examinations say you must not speak faster than 6 or 7 syllables per second. What is a syllable? We will talk about that in a moment. Some say do not speak more than 200, 250, 300 words per minute, no more than 300 words per minute, then you are likely to be misunderstood. So, all global tests of English that you are aware of recommend slow speech. Then international organizations such as International Civil Aviation Organization, ICAO, it's an organization, it's a voluntary organization of countries that fly airplanes to other countries and that receive planes from other countries, that receive flights from other countries. So, when you have flights going out of and coming into your country, then you need a language that is well understood by the incoming pilot and your traffic controller, your other ground crew within the country. Now, what language could that be? Well, obviously, because of its popularity today, because of the historical factors, it is English, which is the language of Civil Aviation Organization. And ICAO conducts tests in English, training in English for anyone associated with civil aviation. For people like for pilots and air traffic controllers, it is mandatory to pass proficiency examinations in the English language. And one of the criteria there is that nobody should speak faster than 100 words per minute. If you speak faster than 100 words per minute, then you are not speaking in the standard manner and you might fail their test. Okay. Why is that necessary? Well, that is extremely necessary, extremely, because in the sky there are no banyan trees, There are no high sky high towers. The pilot sees nothing before them except the skies, sometimes blue, sometimes cloudy. It's quite possible that this pilot has an aircraft above him, another aircraft below him, yet another aircraft ahead of him, yet another aircraft behind him, yet another aircraft to his or her right or left, all around. At any point of time, particularly near the airports, there is a density of flights. There is, it's traffic jam, and the air traffic controller can take only one aircraft at a time. Of course, he will land every 3 minutes, he will land a flight. Every 2.5 minutes, he will land a flight. Sorry, no minutes, seconds. Every 2.5 seconds, he will land the flight. But that 2.5 second wait will be there. Moreover, the pilot will have to depend upon the air traffic controller to inform them if there is an aircraft ahead of their aircraft, how far ahead, how far behind, how far to the side, how far above, how far below, so that the minimum required distance is maintained. The international civil aviation norms are that at the airport, no two flights in the sky should be closer than 500 feet. In outer sky, it might even be 3,000, 5,000, depending upon distance from the airport. Okay. The flights will have to be separated, and this separation of flights, vertical, horizontal, lateral, parallel, is the job of the air traffic controller. Pilot obeys the air traffic controller like soldiers obey a commander. No questions asked, only that when the command comes, the pilot repeats the command to the air traffic controller, so that they both understand that this is the operation required to be done now. All countries agreed that today it so happens that English is the language most people understand better than any other language. And then there is a second rule, that not only speak in English, speak at this tempo, that is about 100 words per minute. If you speak faster, if you speak faster than that, then it's highly likely that you might mispronounce the word, or the other speaker may not be as fluent as you are. Okay? But even in general life, even otherwise, even among friends and family, it's a good idea to be able to speak slowly, so that you understand everyone better, others understand you better. There is another reason why we must change. Rapid speech not only obstructs comprehension, not only obstructs understanding, it can also lead to distortions in speech, malformation of speech. How? Let us see the examples. It is, if you speak rapidly, it is quite possible that you may not produce all the sounds of that word or of some words in some positions. That way sounds have their own grammar. So, distortions can occur in many different ways. Either a sound may be added or a sound may be lost, okay? Such as here, look at the incomplete pronunciation, the number 25. A lot of people in South Asia, in India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Burma, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Tibet, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Maldives, and maybe in other places as well, as we saw in the case of that young lady from Singapore in the earlier unit. In a simple word, like in a number like 25, that is 25, a lot of people in these places pronounce that number as 25, not 25. The v sound is lost, is hardly ever comes in. And then there are other words, strict discipline, ta goes away, it becomes strict discipline. In birthday, if you speak rapidly, it becomes birthday, then th goes away, okay, it becomes simple birthday. So your listener might be confused, what are we talking about? Okay, do come to me, do come to this party on my friend's birthday. It is birthday, what are they trying to say? Okay. Or in bigger words, you might lose sounds. So government might become government, available might become available, display might become play. Okay. Or sounds, the listener might understand you for more frequent sounds. Now that we dictate our messages to phones and phones type them for us, we see quite often, in spite of our correct dictation, type only those words that they frequently hear. So X may be typed as Y because they hear Y oftener than X. If you have said, get me my bat, I want to go to play, it's possible the computer might hear you as, give me my hat, I want to go and play. So incomplete pronunciation, lost sounds, changed sounds. Somebody did a research on listening, piece of research on listening, and found that spoken in a hurry, a whole lot of people had understood backseat spoken in a hurry as taxi. Okay? Or many people had heard character spoken in a hurry as director, because the speaker had said character. The speaker did not say character, and then that speed. So, so the speaker was understood as saying director, erected, etc. Okay. Similarly, a word like a novice. I asked for a saw and the shopkeeper just understood that I was a novice. Now, in this context, a novice would mean a new person, but the listener thought that the speaker had said an office, not a novice, but an office. Okay. Similarly, the speaker had said obese, the king was obese, the Raja was obese, and he was understood for saying the Raja was a beast. Okay. Rapid speech can cause distortions of speech in many different ways, in more ways than we know of. It can also merge sounds so that they become a garble. I told you the story of that young lady from Singapore. Wonderful. She spoke very good English. It's only that I was not used to her accent, just as she was not used to mine. Okay. So I asked her, at the end of the conference, I wanted to go out of the hotel, take the train and go to my hotel. So I would get that a train at a particular railway station. So I asked the lady, would you mind telling me where is Dhobi Ghat, or how can I reach Dhobi Ghat station? But because I had spoken slowly, rapidly, I came in a hurry, and because I should not miss the train, so I spoke to the lady in a hurry and said, please pardon me, can you tell me where I can get, how I can reach the station Dhobi Ghat? Somehow she understood me and she told me, go to the Kappa, the station is on the other side. Now you know what is Kappa? I had never heard this word. And station on the other side. Okay, what is the other side? What is the other side? It should be the other side. Okay. It took me quite some time to make out. A lot of people ask me, what should we do at the railway station? This was the classic case. All right. So, sounds can be merged, sounds can be lost, sounds can change, sound can get distorted. If you talk rapidly, distortion of speech is inevitable. And therefore, it is important that if we are trying to learn to speak in English to global community, then we must speak at a slow tempo. Moreover, it is also a cultural requirement that out of respect for the listener, particularly these days when business and a lot of business is transacted, is completed or lost or gained across the world through calls, meetings enabled by internet, then our speech, our voice, our words must be clearly delivered and heard, and the best way to do that is to speak slowly. Then this kind of merger, as you see here, as you see here, would not happen, Then you would be clearly understood. Even if one or two sounds are lost, you will still be understood well if you spoke car, park, on, the, other, side. Okay? So, things like that. All right, let's move on. What is fluency then? A lot of people say, well, if you speak slowly, you might be misunderstood for a non-fluent speaker. You might not get a job in that interview, or some people might have negative conclusions about you. Well, he is speaking slowly, deliberately. He is not a very truthful person. Why should he hesitate? It should come out clearly. Fluency, strictly speaking, does not mean speaking rapidly. It does not mean rapid tempo. Fluency only means speaking without hesitation. Let us see an example. If you are groping for words, if your hesitation is for content, that is another matter. If you are not sure whether you should say this or you don't, well, I mean to say that had I been in your position, I would have given him this job. That is for content. But when you hesitate for words, I mean, and then you do not know the word, particular word, when it is not day, it is not night, it is not, it is just darkness is setting in. You don't know the word D-U-S-K, dusk. You are groping for that word. So, sometimes you say, I mean, before evening or after evening, You are groping for word, you don't even mean evening, you mean before dusk, You are groping for word. First you say this, then you pause for words. I mean after dark, or you are unable to say after it gets dark, or after it is dark, after dark, or sometimes it may be false starts. You start the sentence one way, can't complete it, and then you return, you do another sentence. Say, take this example. I mean after, no, I mean much people fear dark. And then you realize that before people you cannot say much, then there is self correction. You correct yourself. Excuse me. No, I mean many people fear darkness. Now you got the correct sentence, but you got the correct sentence through such a lot of language related problems. You hesitated for words, you paused for words, you are not sure, you had a false start, you started but then you retract, then you corrected yourself, and finally you were able to get something out. This is lack of fluency. If you are really fluent, you will speak without hesitation, without pausing for words, without false starts, or without self correction. The 4 features. Okay? No hesitation, no pause for words, no false starts, and no self correction. Then you are fluent. It nowhere says you are fluent only when you speak very rapidly. You are fluent only if you speak very rapidly, otherwise you will be misunderstood, and that's not the idea of you should undergoing the language course. What do you mean? Not even a word will be understood, okay, by those that are not used to you, that are not used to where your way of speaking, may not understand you if you speak so rapidly, if you spoke so rapidly. That is why it is said that fluency does not mean rapid speech. Fluency means facility with language, that you have the word available to you when and where you need it, okay, and you use only that word, only those sentences, and you are able to get across, make yourself understood by others. Okay. How can we change our speech habit? People say it is one of the most difficult things to do, because all our lives, I guess, that this course is being attended by a lot of young adults, but then habits can be changed, provided you are determined. There are other kinds of psychological barriers. You have been speaking in a certain manner and suddenly someone tells you, no, please speak differently, speak much slower than you do. Then you sound artificial to you yourself. You don't get you don't get that kick, you do not get that confidence with which you should speak, and it's possible that you might be misunderstood. Definitely, if you speak the way you were speaking, that was all right, and suddenly you come from this course and you speak slowly and you tell your friends, whatever you had to tell them in a slow tempo, and then they laugh at you. They tell you, come on guy, come on buddy, what is this? Why are you talking like this, as if are you doing in some comic act? Is it a comedy? It is then that you have to be firm and you have to say, no, it's not a comedy. I am trying to learn to speak in the standard manner, which also means I must speak more slowly than I have done all these years. In the beginning, your friends may laugh at you, okay? They may make fun of you because, it's unusual, okay? but then they will also accept. There is another challenge. Suppose for those that are multilinguals, you speak 3 or 4 or 5 languages. It is not very uncommon in India, in Africa, in some other countries in Southeast Asia, to come across people who speak half a dozen languages. Now, each of these languages has a culture, okay? And then you are changing only in English. Do you mean you should change also in other languages? If you ask me, then per se, it is a good idea to speak slowly in every language. That leads to a great communication, that leads to total or near total absence of any misunderstanding. Okay. Therefore, you can change your speech habit across languages. Okay. In the beginning, for some time, your friends, your family, your business partners may think you have gone crazy or queer, your speech is queer, but soon they will understand and they will reconcile themselves, and then you will find that they are also changing. Okay. It is like learning another style. You see, you dress in one manner and suddenly the fashion changes. These days a lot of young people wear split jeans. Somewhere there is split, there is a cut, part of the body shows. It must have taken you time to get used to showing a part of your body, but then because it is a fashion, other young people do it, so you are under pressure to do it from the peer group, and then you get used to it. It's just like another style of speaking. If you decide and if you are determined, with some practice, you can make yourself a slow speaker in under 2 weeks flat. Okay. But it must be a determined practice through all languages and in all situations. Then you will find that it's like another language with you. You can switch between this and older language according to your wish, just as you switch between your mother tongue and English, between your other languages and your mother tongue. Okay. So it will become so easy, but then you have to be a determined person. Lot of people ask me, should I speak slowly all the time? And they give me an example. Suppose I am at a railway station, the train is about to leave, I go to the booking clerk, and do I tell the booking clerk, please excuse me, I have to go from Chennai to Bangalore, can you give me a second class or a first class ticket, please? By then my train will leave, I will miss my train. The answer to all such questions is, language is a matter of culture. It's a matter of common sense. Let common sense be your guide. If the situation demands that you must speak rapidly, then please speak rapidly. But if the situation does not demand, it is neutral, it says nothing, then it is better for us to speak as slowly as we can. Okay. Ideally, not much slower than about 5 to 6 syllables per second, not much faster than 7 to 8 syllables per second. Somewhere between this 5 and 8 syllables per second lies the trick. Okay. How do you measure tempo of speech? In this manner. Some people count number of words per minute and then they match it to the time. Is it 100 words per minute? Fine. But then there is a problem. Words are not of the same length. So they said counting according to the number of syllables is better. What is a syllable? It's pretty simple, a definition. A syllable is a part of a word, a part of a spoken word with only one vowel. Okay. in technical terms, it is 1 equal to 1 breath pulse. As we speak, our lungs expand and contract. It is called breath pulse, That is how, if you keep your hand near your mouth and if you speak, you will find that air comes out in waves, in puffs, because your lungs expand and contract. So, wave comes like that. One syllable is 1 breath pulse, 1 expansion and contraction of lung. You can speak only 1 syllable in 1 breath pulse. In other words, you can have only 1 spoken vowel. In written vowel in English is another matter, You can have 2 vowel sounds making 1 spoken sound. Say for example, the earlier unit I said a word like T-R-E-A-T. So, E-A is 2 vowel sounds, They are 2, in 2 letters, but they make only 1 vowel sound, You can write 2 vowel sounds like, let us say here, 2 vowel letters 1, 2, but they make 1 sound, that is this. I am using phonetic notation which I have not introduced to you, I will. Okay. So, 1 spoken vowel, 1 syllable has only 1 spoken vowel. If you speak, you will understand, and after that syllable your lips must close. You must take another, before you take another syllable, the lung will have to close. Okay. So, let us count in terms of syllables, having defined the number of. What is a syllable? A syllable is a part of a word with 1 and only 1 spoken vowel. So, look at this word cat. How many vowels does it have? 1. How many syllables does it have? 1. But monkey, it has 2 vowels. Do not take Y into account. Okay? It is O-N-E. Okay? So, then it has 2 vowels, 2 vowels and only 2 syllables. Whereas, in treat, 2 vowel letters, but only 1 vowel sound, E. Okay? Elephant has 3 vowel letters, E, E, A, but it has also 3 syllables, no more no less. University has 5 vowel letters and 5 syllables, because they are all vowel sounds. Okay? So, the definition is pretty simple. A syllable is equal to a vowel sound. It may or may not have a consonant. It may have more than 1 consonant. It may have fewer than 1 consonant, but it must have a vowel and only 1 vowel. So, a syllable is equal to a vowel sound in a word. Okay? Just to, for the sake of practice, count the number of syllables in these words. So, words may differ in length, syllables do not, or except minimally, it is easier to identify them. Therefore, the rule should be about 5 to 6 syllables per second for a comfortable speech. So, you can measure your tempo, taking this and other passages we are given in the resource book, and you can have some practice in spoken English and in measuring your own, checking your own tempo of speech. So, for example, read this passage aloud as you would to your children. I have needed some new bookshelves for a long time. Okay. Let me time it, You can use the stopwatch and see how long you take. Let us do this. Here is my clock and here is the stopwatch. I will start it in the seconds, and I will read it to check how much time I took. I have needed some new bookshelves for a long time. So, during my holidays, I decided to tackle the job myself. Not that I am very clever with my hands, but it did not seem too difficult. As I had already said, I could not afford to go away. I thought it would not be prudent to spend money having it done professionally. I bought the wood at the local handicraft shop, and as the saw that had been left behind by the previous owner of the house was not good enough, okay, I stopped here. It is 120 or 21 syllables approximately. So, I have taken about 30 seconds, which means I am a comfortably slow speaker according to this measurement. You can also do so, and if you are faster than 20 seconds, if you read it in under 20 seconds, then you are a fast reader. Up to 20 seconds is okay, between 20 and 30 is for that kind of word, that kind of passage. So, how do we measure the word? How do we measure our tempo? Tempo is time taken to utter a particular string of words. Okay. So, if you have taken fewer than 20 seconds to read the words aloud, okay, fewer. There is a spelling mistake here. There should be an So, if you have taken fewer than 20 seconds to read the words aloud on the previous slide, then you are not a slow speaker. You should try and cultivate, go slowly with pauses. You can have more practice. In resource book we have given you passages for practice. You can practice with similar texts. More importantly, practice in real life situations, with your friends, with your family will help you, and in any other languages that trying to speak slowly, even that, because languages have no mutual hostility. If you have one kind of habit with one language, it is highly likely that that habit can also influence, can affect your English. So, better it is best to try to speak slowly in all languages, in all situations, and you will then find that in under 2 weeks you are speaking in a manner which enables you to be understood by all your listeners, no matter whether they come from Argentina or from Bolivia, if they know any English at all. Another thing to be noted is that your friends, my experience tells me as a teacher, a lot of students used to tell me when the classes, when we had live classes, then a lot of students used to tell me that if they spoke as slowly as I was suggesting, then their friends made fun of them. And this is what I used to tell them. I used to tell them, look, let them make fun of you, but if you endure, if you still tell them, I am sorry, I may not speak like I used to, they will make fun of you for a few days, and that way they will also learn to speak slowly. So you will find that a change in you has not changed only you, it can change your entire group, your group of colleagues, your family, your students, your friends, your business partners. Okay? Therefore, it is a good idea to insist on, speaking slowly across situations, in all situations. Thank you and wish you good luck.